Hello, how are you? So, my name is Jenny Gladzak. I am a senior account manager for Digital Factory. I am your MC for this event, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I recently participated in the Investment Casting Institute management meeting in Monterey, California, and learned that meeting customer deliveries on time was a common goal, yet still often a challenge for those who were in attendance. We thought it'd be helpful to offer a special session using investment casting examples in our presentation, and that's what we're going to be doing here today. Before I introduce the guest speaker, I just would like to suggest that if you have any questions, please type them in the comments area and we will address them in a timely manner. And as your MC, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Jens Pierregard. He is the Proficy Schedule product manager within the Velotic family of industrial software. Jens is one of the original founders of the scheduling tool, formerly known as Robex. Jens is very knowledgeable in his use and benefits of this product and will be sharing that with you here today. Jens is based out of Denmark. He started his career in scheduling robots for the shipbuilding industry and has been the product manager for over 20 years. And he finds great pleasure in helping customers with their planning and scheduling and is looking forward to sharing that with you here today. We also have Rod Kirchner joining us. He has been with Rain Engineering as a senior architect for over 13 years. He was formerly at a plastic injection bottle forming company prior to joining our team. So we do have quite a bit of experience in injection molding here on the call here today. Please join me in welcoming Jens to start the presentation for you.
Thanks a lot, Jenny, and I'm really happy to be on this call today here with all of you. So I'll be talking about this tool, Proficy Scheduler Robex, and what it is, and have some specific examples related to investment casting. So I was one of the founders of that company, Robex. It was acquired then in 2024 by the Venova Proficy business, and in the end of 2024. And then, as you may know, the Proficy business was then acquired by Velotic Software just recently, and we are excited to have this new company together with some great PTC products from Kipware and ThingWorks. Proficy Scheduler, as Jenny said, it was created 20 years ago, and where we saw a need in the manufacturing industry for a user-friendly visual scheduling tool. The tool is what we call an APS tool, Advanced Planning and Scheduling. And basically, it's a tool that takes whatever planning an ERP system can provide and turn that into an optimized executable shop floor plan. So what we call detailed scheduling. And then you have interfaces to all relevant other systems. So in other words, it's a way to digitize what goes on between ERP level planning and then the shop floor execution. So and then that part very often today, happens through a personal Excel sheet. So it's also that the alternative really to Excel. So we have chosen to stay really focused on detailed operational shop floor scheduling. And this is typically with a horizon of a few weeks to a few months. We're really trying not to divert into, as an example, forecasting or master planning, because other systems like ERP are, they are really good at that kind of planning. And we believe shop floor scheduling. The tool, it's a full multi-user scheduling tool. It can cover the needs for both a small one-site factory with maybe one planner, but it's also a tool for the enterprise. It can cover up to 20 plus factories and hundreds of users. But first of all, let me go into my presentation here and set the pay for detailed scheduling. So that's very often our competitor. And then it also means that what we experience is also that companies suffers really from having underinvested in modern scheduling tools. So it has become really time consuming to create a good quality schedule. As plans and schedules gets more complex, and I think that's certainly also something that I would imagine is relevant for investment casting. Then it becomes difficult to grasp really if you have covered all the constraints and you have a good schedule that you can actually execute. And then also, I think often companies, they need some good tools for communicating a schedule once it's there. So you don't have many versions of it, but you only have one. And then, as I said, losing a good planner could introduce some high risks. So this is really why we built Proficy Scheduler. It's this user-friendly tool to meet all those challenges. You can create quality schedules in less time. You can get great digital ways to communicate and distribute plans and schedules. You can lose a planner without introducing high risks because most of the knowledge is in the system. A lot of the rules are in the system. It's not to say that a great planner can still do a big difference, but you will survive. And actually being able to generate a capacity balanced schedule with less fluctuation also improve employee satisfaction on the shop floor. So hopefully it means that you can keep employees for a longer time. And all in all, synchronized manufacturing activities just helps improve productivity. So if execution goes according to plan, it's a lot easier to be prepared, so you don't have stops. And then finally, also, you can have this scheduling tool as a software as a service, a SaaS hosted solution. So it's easy to get started. It's not a problem. It's not an IT project. So what is Proficy Scheduler in other words? And one way to explain that is to say, okay, how does a scheduling tool fit into your system landscape? So scheduling in a system context. And very often you have the ERP system as a central system. You have a worried customer that needs a product, places a sales order. And then the first time the scheduling system gets into action is that very often you send work orders, bombs, and the opening stock, so what you have currently on inventory of different finished goods, intermediates, raw materials, you send that to the Proficy Scheduler tool, where the planner will do the finite capacity detailed scheduling. And the outcome of that is the when and how. So the when is the operation dates. When do we start? When do we expect to be complete? And then the how, what machine should actually perform the different operations. And with that, you also have a really good estimated and confirmed delivery date that you can send to the customer. So, and for a while, then the customer is hopefully satisfied with that delivery date and is out of the picture. And then in ERP, you start to purchase raw materials, and if you have really good operation dates, the when, you are able to purchase raw materials more precisely for when you actually need it. Very often, if you only have infinite capacity scheduling, you very often purchase materials too early, and then eventually, once you're ready to release the order, you send it to an MES system, as an example, or Scheduler also has a small job tool that for operators to view and report start partial completion end. But then you start to execute, and while you're executing, you are feeding that progress back to the scheduling tool as status, what is started, what is partially completed, and what is finally completed. Because then also during execution, this will affect your scheduling, but with this closed loop here, you can actually reschedule and take, if you are early, you can grab that opportunity and put something in instead. If you're late, you have to reschedule and take some new priorities. And then finally, hopefully, you deliver on time and you have a happy customer. And what we see is that if you don't have a tool like this, but rather do it in Excel, then some of these links here will be impacted. So first of all, it will be difficult to get the when and how back from an Excel system back into the ERP. So if ERP doesn't have exact good dates, you don't purchase raw materials very precisely. If you lack the closed loop feedback from execution, you are not able to reschedule, and maybe your plan gets obsolete really fast. And finally, it's also difficult to provide a good confirmed delivery date to the customer, and maybe because of unsynchronized execution, you don't deliver on time either. So that is one way to look at scheduling from this system landscape perspective. And then the other one is, of course, what kind of features does the tool have, and what does it look like? And for that, I will try to give you a live demo here of what the tool is actually doing. So I'll switch to my Proficy Scheduler tool, and actually, if I go back one step here, it's a tool that lives in a web browser, so it's easy to get to. Once you have installed software on a server, or you purchase this as a SaaS solution, you will go to this portal page, we call it. You can, all the different sites that you have access to, you can get into those sites from here. We have different clients, but I will show you here the web planner first. And I think it also this is really the main tool for a planner. And I've tried to model to the best of my ability here an investment casting plant, really a simple one, probably the smallest one you can imagine. But it has wax press with a, if you see that icon here, with the lines, that's a group, that's a machine group, work center. Then it has machines inside of it. So wax press group has press 1 as an actual machine, and you could have press 2, 3, and 4, and so forth. Then there's a wax simply, and to also show how you can schedule with labor. I've said, okay, I have both an area where you do it, but also I need a person to at the same time. Then there's a shell line where I build the shells, an autoclave where I can heat and get the wax out, furnace preparing for the melt area, cut off, blast, and then finishing and QC, quality control. And finally, if we need it, there's a packing line. And also, if there are some post-processing, I've added some turning milling centers also to show that. Then you, of course, on the horizontal line here, you have the time. Sunday, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 28, and if I just go a little bit to the left here, I have right now, that's my red line right here. If you select, or if the planner selects something here, and then I can click on this Gantt chart highlight, we can see this is one production order, 1000, that produces, if I rest my mouse here on top, it produces precision valve housing. And we can then see each of those boxes here is an operation. The full link of operations here is what we call a route. And the route describes how you are going to produce on first of all on what piece of equipment will you produce it, and then the when are the start and end times. So this housing here will start on the wax press, take some hours. We can get some details on what we select. So it has, a workload of 6 hours. We have to produce 80 pieces. The next operation here, it starts right after. And that's also something that you model in the route. So what are the constraints? Because the next one, the wax assembly, we are saying, okay, the shell line can actually start once I've produced maybe it's 30 or 40 pieces. Then I can start my shell building. So here there's an overlap. This one has what we call a post-queue time. So maybe we need to dry for a certain number of hours before we can move on to the autoclaves, for the furnace, melting, and so forth. And then eventually we're going to have a expected delivery date here. Let me get rid of that box again. So if we start on the Sunday, we'll be finished on Wednesday. So that's my expected finish date. And when you the way you model a route like this is that the tool has some master data. So it has a shift calendar saying, I have modeled a 24/7 shift calendar, a one shift calendar. Then I have resources, or that is, equipment or people, labor, and you have master data for those, and it's a shift calendar. This was an important one, saying what are my available work times, efficiencies, resource availability factors. That's how many capacities that resource has. So if you can produce 2 operations at the same time on this piece of equipment. Views are how you what you see, and I will show that a little bit later. There are master operations defining that if I do turning, I specify what equipment can do turning. So that's the capability matrix. We have master routes. So if I want to produce my precision valve housing 1010, I have a recipe here for how I do that. And if I for wax injection, I've specified a certain setup time, a certain workload, processing time, and all the relationships. I can go to a constraint editor and I can graphically model, is it one to many, many to one relationships and all this. So you can really detailed model some even very complex routings. Master material is something you can model here. Employees, if you want to use the scheduler's shop floor module, this is where you create employees for that module. So you can see here, this is one order. If I move that order, the great thing about a tool like this is that it's easy to move dates. So if I move it, I can ask to go forward in the route in this case, and then realign everything. So here I can say, okay, if I move that, I want to reschedule and get a new end date. And similarly, I can say I want to be finished here, and then I can go backward from here, and then you will now have a new estimated start time if you need to be finished here. And what you can see is that every time you reschedule, it will be with finite capacity. So here, it actually took into consideration that I was not able to pack right away, but I had to wait a bit and then go backward. But if I move this up close to, here and do a forward scheduling, then I can also see, okay, it takes into consideration that I don't overbook anything. And also the tool has the capability of selecting between alternative resources. So if I had a press 1 and press 2, and if this item here were allowed on both press 1 and 2, it would be able to select between those presses itself. Also here, if I select the next order on top of this one and the next again, so we can see that actually they start in sequence. But because you are doing finite capacity scheduling, also on the shell line, it's still in the same sequence. On the autoclave it is, but then something starts to happen at the capacities or the resources where you can produce more things at the same time. So for instance, cutoff, I've specified here, and I can open up that particular piece of equipment and say, okay, so here I can both produce several items at the same time. So also we see here that one item, because the green one here has less duration, it can actually overpass or that first order and be finished earlier. And that's really, when you have complex routings with many operations, this is also very difficult to grasp stuff like this in an Excel sheet. That you can start stuff but not complete in the same sequence. But this is what is great about a tool like this, is that it takes care of all that complexity. Then you also very often you would be saying that you add a new order, and adding a new order, just to maybe also show that, then if I want to create a new order, I could do it here in the Gantt chart, or I could import it directly from an ERP system. But if I do it manually, create an express order, I could select the part I want to produce, 1010. I think that's the same one as we just did. It estimates that because of the duration I drew in the Gantt chart, I will have to produce 198 pieces. So let's just say create. And you can then see that, okay, really fast, once you have created an order, you have a new expected delivery date, and you have this knowledge about how you produce. That's all built into the route, and it's easy to align or adjust the route if some stuff happens. Also manually, you can select between equipment. So here, I don't have a lot of alternatives, but here I could move this back to the group. And so forth. So also many ways you can manually override what the rules are doing. But very often you will maybe receive a bunch of orders, and you can select all those, and then you can say there are some built-in rules for, let's schedule forward from now as early as possible. Maybe you want to schedule backward from delivery dates. But if we say in this case, schedule everything forward from now with limited capacity, then all that is scheduled out. I would actually manually just move it a bit forward here. Yeah, so that's very typically what you would do. Then you have different color options. So maybe one is what we call milestone, is you want to see if everything is delivered on time. So if anything were red here, it meant that we were breaking a delivery date. So I could, just try to break one. So we could say that this was, right now it's scheduled for 27th of April. But if we said that we actually wanted to have this ready by the 26th, 25th, then it would turn red. And it would be a signal to say, okay, either we have to fix this problem, or change priorities, or maybe we need to reach out to the customer so he knows in advance that there will be some delays. And likewise to this, there are other color modes. One is called material shortage, because the tool can also import the opening stock, so what we have on inventory, and the tool knows about the bill of material, what are we consuming. So here we can see that this one is red, and I can click on this one and we can show a material graph, and it's a ceramic shell material, and we have enough to begin with. But since everything at the shell line is likely using that material, we actually run out at this point in time. So we need to procure some more before we start this one. Otherwise, we have to move it forward in time. We also have the visibility of the purchase orders here, so we would be able to move it forward until we have the material. So material is very much also a constraint, and it's also handled by the tool here. Then, as a final thing, also I would like to show that orders has a status here. So if I, as a planner, I'm satisfied with my schedule, I will find those in an order list, so you can get everything also shown in a table base, because I think planners like that, and they can search by customer or other attributes here and filter. But then I could click edit, and I could change the status of all of these to released or start possible. It's better because it's a signal to my shop floor that they can start working on those jobs. So as a planner, I'm satisfied. They are exactly my optimal plan here. Then you could, on the shop floor, they could open up what we call the operator, or they could open up their existing MES system. We can integrate to whatever tool you already may have. But in this case, let me show it on this operator tool. So it's a tool where you can specify what equipment you want to look at, so you don't have to look at everything. So I've just picked some of them here. But the press is the first operation. And if I just try to, let's see if I can show here. If I'm lucky, I can show this side by side. So we have the schedule here on the right that we just created. So if I am an operator, I want to start up the first operation on order 1000 bags injection. I could click on the stopwatch here, and you'll get this check in, check out dialog. So I just check in right now. What you see over here is that it's a signal to the scheduling system that this is now started, and we have a new estimated end time. So as you execute, you will continuously get a new updated schedule, and a planner would be able to react if there are any issues. Let me just cheat a bit and say, okay, we actually started this one a bit earlier, because then I will fake here that we are moving forward in time, and maybe I've completed 30 of the pieces that we want to produce, so I can do a partial completion. And again, what you can see is that the scheduling tool it knows that we are 30%, well, maybe not 30%, but a certain percentage complete. The triangle shows when did we last get a partial completion from the shop floor. And then we have a new estimated end time. So again, if I really go 1 day forward in time here, I cheat a bit and say do a new partial but without having produced anything more, I will start to have an issue. And on the scheduling side, I would want to reschedule now. So if I go back being a scheduler here, I would have to say, okay, there's an issue here. I could look at press 1. I click this button here, and it just shows press 1. So I would actually have to reschedule all of these orders here. I'll just do it forward from now again. And then I would have a new schedule that takes into consideration that I'm delayed on my press 1. So that just shows, the closed loop behavior. Yeah.
I have a question from the audience. Will the schedule plan around raw material shortage?
It is possible. So when you do a schedule, let me take one of these here. When you say fall from now, you have a lot of options that you can actually enable. And one of them is exactly respect BOM constraints. And then it will, depending on what you specify here, it will actually, search forward. In this case, 30 days forward, trying to find the first possible spot where we have the material that we are in need of. So I think the answer is yes to that. So it's an option that you enable, because sometimes you want to take raw materials into considerations immediately, and sometimes you don't. You rather want to see what's the effect on the raw material situation, and then go and purchase. All right. Anything else there, Don? Any more questions at this point? Okay.
It looks like there might be some things coming in, but I'll let you continue for now.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Just interrupt. No problem. So that was just showing this shop floor module called Operator, but the system is really open interface-wise, and it's MES ERP agnostic. So we will interface to whatever ERP you have or whatever existing shop floor system you may have. And I think that also actually concludes here my demo. And I just to show, I never showed this labor constraint here, but what I meant to do with this is that I could try to say the way it works is that you have a primary operation, which may be the machine, then you may have a secondary operation, which is the labor. And the tool will make sure that you have both things available whenever you schedule. So if, as an example, if I try to go into my labor resource and says, okay, I want to try and see what's the effect of only working one shift at the labor station. So it will actually, so right now what we see here is that we get this gray shading here in the background. So it shows that it's a one shift calendar. I work Mondays, 8 to 15 maybe, and then I don't work weekends. And we can see that it immediately, I guess, starts to get red warnings here on my assembly station, because it's also governed by the fact that it has a sub-operation assigned to the labor resource. So actually, I would need to reschedule all of this here, and I could do it forward from now. But this time, if you look at the end dates here, they will also be moved forward, because now I can see the effect of what it means to do a one shift constraint on my assembly. So, and then you could say, so maybe you would then want to say, okay, I could also say that I have 3 people available on each shift now. Maybe I say I have 8 rather than 3. And we could see the effect then if I reschedule again forward for now. I just click the button here. Then we can see, okay, so it didn't actually, that doesn't actually fix a lot. So maybe it's I think it's also this close weekend here that actually moved my dates.
I do
So
have
it's
a
also,
couple
yeah,
more things if you want to.
yeah, sure.
So one is how might I see the effect of downtime from machines going down, and the schedule's out there. I now have a piece of equipment that has gone down. How does that impact the schedule?
So I can simulate a machine going down by saying, okay, maybe this Sunday evening here, I will have a maintenance job. So I can close the shift calendar in that period, and then you can see that job just gets longer, and I need to move it past that that closed shift calendar. And it could also just have been, I could have imported rather than it's a closed shift calendar, it could also be a maintenance job. And so it would, similar to anything else, it just impacts my capacity.
Okay. There's another question about showing how to sort and filter an order list.
So what you do is that you go into the order list, and you basically how you design the order list is up to you. So you have this gear icon where the planner herself can add and remove columns. So any field really in the system, you just find and you add it. And then you can, let's say I want to sort by delivery date. So I click here, delivery date. Maybe secondly, I want to order by quantity. So you can sort on multiple stuff, and then you can then reselect. You can say I want to reschedule everything in that sequence. I don't want to reschedule my starter order, and then you can reschedule also from the order list here. So everything not started forward from now, and then it's now everything is prioritized by those sorting attributes that I selected. So it could also be a color attribute or alloy attribute or whatever you would want to sort by.
One other question was, can you show orders affected by materials shortage?
I think I kind of showed that before, that what is red. So when I click something, I can easily see here in the Gantt chart what is affected. I can also open up my order list, and I could add similar to that I have here. So I'm in risk of delivering late. Here I'm delivering late. I could have a similar color that I could search for, showing if I have any raw material problems. So it's just to go in here and find that field and add it to the order list. So maybe I think that might be the answer also. So it doesn't have to always be Gantt chart. You can also be table-based.
Okay, that's all the questions that we have for now. So I'll let you continue.
Awesome. Yes, so I think it's kind of enough here for the tool. Let me go back and finish off my deck here. Hopefully gave you kind of a overview of features that you would normally use as a planner. All right, so if I continue here, then some of the value propositions is that that schedule can help you optimize is the overall lead time of an order. So maybe you can spot opportunities and actually make sure that you produce in the shortest possible lead time, and that affects also work in progress. You don't have intermediates lying around on the shop floor longer than necessary. Stuff like overtime for labor. Maybe you don't have to work on a weekend. Time spent on planning, certainly. Hopefully you will get a lot easier here to move dates out, create a good schedule in the first pass, and so forth. Less meetings because other stakeholders can actually view the same schedule constantly. Maybe you can react faster because you can reschedule faster and deliver confirmed delivery dates faster. You can spot bottlenecks, fix them, loosen up. all this stuff here that I think a lot of you hopefully can recognize. I will also mention here that the handoff between planning, purchasing, logistics, customer service, maintenance can be very much improved. So it's not only that the shop floor guys, people really get a good schedule, but it's also that purchasing gets better dates. Customer service can go into the tool and see, rather than calling up the planner, when can we deliver to this customer who is important for me. Maintenance can better coordinate because they can find the white time where you don't produce. So better scheduling really affects a lot of other stakeholders in your company. Very importantly. Yeah. Change over time may also, I'm not sure how that is in investment casting, but if you have a certain sequence you want to produce, maybe based on alloys or other attributes, the tool has capabilities to have a dynamic setup time. So if you produce A after B, then you have one setup time. But if you produce A after C, then you have another. So that's also something the tool can help with. So a lot of good stuff here. And on the other hand, here this is a list of symptoms, and maybe you could recognize some of them from your company. So if you have issues with exceeded delivery dates, low productivity, doing a lot of firefighting to expedite production orders because you constantly have to change priorities. Production schedules are not up to date, are not being shared. Difficulty accessing the implications of taking in a new order or make a modification to an existing order because some variation happened on the shop floor. So again, I think those symptoms here is maybe something that you can recognize and then say, okay, I could see this tool actually help me. And when we go and ask our user base about how do they make money on having a Proficy Scheduler as a tool, this is what they answer. So 100% respond that they actually experience lower salary costs, so they can reduce costs on salary. 100% can that. It's not 100% reduction, unfortunately, but they can all see that, okay, we can reduce salary cost. They can, they can increase their revenue because they get happier customer that return and they buy more. So that's very often what we see is that maybe the delivery KPIs get increased, improved, and they get a lot happier customers. Lower capacity costs, you can utilize your equipment better. So maybe, really get the best of your equipment. You don't have to buy as many. Maybe you don't have to buy that machine number 2 because you found a way to just fix it without lower penalty costs. If you don't deliver late, you may experience that going down. Lower subcontractor costs, so maybe you can keep more in-house, send less out of the house. Lower material costs, it's getting less, but sometimes you can actually schedule in a way where you don't break materials maybe as much. And energy costs could also be an area where you could make money. But I think it's really those 8 areas here where you can make money with better scheduling. Another thing also is important to say that it's really not a large, exhausting IT project to start using a tool like this. We have a lot of experience delivering these projects here. So we have this simple agile project model that we follow. And it's basically sprint based. So we in the first sprint, and the sprint is 1 week, we sit together with the customer, with you, and we say, okay, what's the core solution that we want to deliver, and we list that these are the core values that are really important for you. Then typically there's a preparation 2 or 3 weeks where we set up interfacing to different systems. And once we're ready, then we sprint for typically 4 sprints, maybe more in some cases. But the standard approach is 4 sprints. It doesn't have to be 4 weeks in a row. There can be breaks in between, and there very often are, because you have to produce also in between. But then we activate and we start to use the features that we defined in the assessment sprint here, in sprint 1, and we train as we go along. So it's an ongoing process, and we might change priorities if something happens. But otherwise, the important goals that we defined, we will reach those. And maybe it's not, maybe we solved 80% of your issues, but it's just a better way to start using the system, that you don't do 100%, but you after sprint 5, you're ready, you go live with those features, and then we help you in a hypercare week for 8 weeks. And after that, the core solution is embedded. And then you know the tool better than you did from the beginning, and you can start to ask for more. So this is really our proposed approach. And so you can see here, within 16 weeks, we could actually be up and running, and you could start to gain value, and then even continue to get better and better and make more and more value in the weeks after. So we have a lot of experience from the Proficy side, and our integrators, Rain and stuff. They're really good at this stuff and has already delivered lots and lots of projects. So really, they are our trusted partner here for doing scheduling. Then I will also mention here.
Question.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Rod, could you just talk a little bit about what type of resources of people would a customer need to have to implement such a product?
Sure. We mainly like to get in touch with, obviously a lot of it's the integration, seeing what kind of data we're going to have and what we're working with there. But the most important information comes from the actual schedulers, plant managers, and people on the floor, getting this so we can get down to the bottom of exactly what it is they're scheduling and how they're doing it. You can tell by that demonstration that Jens gave that there's a lot of details embedded in the scheduler that are very important to getting it acting like the real life scheduler is.
Is there anything that has made our previous installs a success that these customers could benefit from?
I think the main takeaway is that when you get this modeled right, it's like a huge logic calculator almost. It's taking the information you give it, and most of the schedulers will understand that it's not just doing the job once, right? You end up doing your schedule 5 times during the day. And so being able to move something around, reshuffle everything, reissue the schedule in 2 minutes instead of an hour, right? And we see people typically are spending more than 50% of their days freed up using a scheduling software versus Excel.
Yeah, replacing Excel is probably the most common use of a scheduling system our customers have been using. And so it is nice to have a tool that does manage this a little easier, yes.
Right. You can get to the answer pretty fast even with Excel, but then you have to go feed that information back into your ERP, right? If you think about moving one order, you have to move all the orders behind it. And then once you move all those orders, you now have to update 16 dates back into your ERP, which this would, do automatically.
That's a good point. Thank you. Any more
All right.
questions? I think this is the end of our presentation. We'd like to thank you all for participating and viewing this presentation. And if there is any additional questions, you can reach out to any of us on LinkedIn. We'll be more than happy to address any more of your questions that you have. And thank you again for joining us today.